It's 5 o'clock on the East Coast, nonstop DFS conversation, Mlb Dfs conversation, taking y'all straight up to lock. This slate is so good. We're busting out the old three-man booth. We got, of course, Tasteful Tides. Tim is with us. Kind of a single entry, a three-entry max specialist. It certainly branches out, but that's kind of what Tim was specialized in. And we're bringing in the chopper of heads. Head Chopper, the mic check's all good. Two-time millionaire winner. It's Head Chopper. What's up, Chopper? I feel like we don't do this enough.
Well, then I checked the schedule for May, and I've got way too much of you on my plate, so this is not going to be this is a particularly rough month, but we'll get through it.
What's the quota? What's too much? Like 2, maybe 3 shows? What? How many is too much of Dean? I wouldn't know because I'm too close to the situation.
We've got 8 shows scheduled, Dean. It's crazy.
Whoa, that is too much.
Every Tuesday and Friday for the whole month. Rough, man.
Oh, well, it should be fun. It'll be good times for sure. Are they all like, is it just intimate shows as well, or just three-man booth kind of conversations?
There's a plethora of there's each, Dean. There's three-man booths, there's intimate shows. I don't even know, man. I don't even know what's gonna happen, Dean. Dean, do you do the Sirius XM show?
Yeah, dude. You're welcome to come on and jump on whenever you'd like. Yeah, you're welcome to join in. Myself, Bime4, Stevie, and Beer Makers fan. We kind of rotate through in pairs of 2s on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, I might jump on there.
You want to crash?
I might jump on there later this month. Not by choice, but they're kind of making me.
Oh, you're getting worked in the conversation as like a guest or as like a host? You're gonna be there for all 2 hours.
I don't know, Dean. I pretty much I just scan the email real quick and then whatever, man. We'll figure it out, I guess, on the fly.
Don't sound too excited about joining the show. I mean, temper your excitement because I can. It's popping off the page and the chat. Like they can't. It's breaking some computers out there, I'm sure. But I'm happy you're joining the team. Maybe you're not, but welcome. Hopefully, it doesn't. We don't cross over too much on there because again, the quota's already been smashed. Do want to say what's up to the chat as well. What's up, chat? Kindly hit that like button. Do subscribe. Turn on those notifications. Do all those things. Jason in chat saying, just want to say if one of the touts claiming they took down something yesterday, I can believe it because there was a lot of great calls in here last night. Way to go. Shout out to the RG team. I'm just shocked that I made money last night. I don't know how I did because I had 100% Luis Garcia who threw 8 more pitches than Tim did. Tim, were you pitching last night? I wasn't aware. How many pitches did you throw last night?
No, that's great that you made money though playing him.
Couldn't believe it.
Yeah. I had some
go ahead.
I broke even last night, and I had Mackenzie Gore on DK, but still was good enough because Blake Snell somehow survived. It didn't look like he was gonna, but he did.
Yeah. We all tried out. We all got too cute, right? We all galaxy brained that one, and to be fair, like it, he hadn't shown that all season long, and he finally busted it out against Cincinnati. But I had some of the late Dodgers did really well. Peralta, Dodgers in general, bets as well, and somehow I had like 3 points for my pitchers and like 145 points or something like that. So it's like, imagine if we actually had some pitchers. That could have been fun.
I can't believe Jason Hayward. That's like such a weird thing to me. Like he's like completely different, completely like changed his skill set now. And that was a really good call by Keith last night talking about him. So, I mean, I wish I had played him on my main team, but oh well.
I've been playing some Hayward because I know me and Kirkwood had talked about this previously. Kirkwood was mad at me or whatever, throwing some shade at me. The sample size is too small, but I was looking at Hayward, who I refused to play last year. There's no chance I was playing him last year, but he's hitting the ball really, really hard. You look at the Savant stuff, you look at the advanced metric stuff, he's smashing the ball. For whatever reason, he's having a flashback season. Once upon a time, he was just awesome. I remember watching his very first homer in the major leagues on opening day against Carlos Zambrano. I don't know why I remember that, but remember Carlos Zambrano? He would get very upset when things did not go well, and he would beat up water coolers for the Cubbies. You guys remember him? Think so? Maybe? Possibly?
I don't know.
Before your time?
No,
Chop, you know Carlos Zambrano?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I was watching that at bat. I remember. It was a line drive.
Dynamite drop in.
Line drive, Dean. I remember it.
He was a scorcher out when he was on the Braves. It was like right center field or something like that. That's where all his homers basically went. But all right, This slate, Tim, are you as excited with this one as I am? Because I think it's fabulous. I love this slate. There's too much to like. There's elite pitchers, stud pitchers. There's cheap pitchers that theoretically are going to be really good in the future. Might be good really right now. I imagine Chop's going to be excited about his Houston Astros pitcher. Hopefully they don't continue the streak there, Chop. Was that 2 days in a row where the starters got injured? Just a real bummer there. They're going to have to ask Brown probably go a little bit deeper maybe than possible. But Hunter Brown looks awesome. The brothers Miller facing against each other both look really, really interesting. 4K on DK. There's so many different routes to take, Tim. And as far as offenses, of course, we have the core slate. 6 total for Milwaukee. Nobody else above 6. A couple creeping in the 5s. But, well, give me the screenshot here, Tim, because it's really – I'm not playing cash today. I don't know if you're playing cash. I know you do. I don't besmirch it, though. I do on occasion. I wanted to concentrate on tournaments today. As far as pitchers for cash, I think it's a really interesting conversation because I think there's really no wrong answer before – like we get the results as far as like pick 2 of these 5 guys, right? Give me your general assessment as far as the slate. Do you feel the same? Is there a lot of good stuff on the table for you as there is for me?
Yeah, this is I think by far the best tournament slate of the season so far. Like there's so many good options that we can go with. There's very, very few, I think, wrong ways to go or ways that like you quote shouldn't go. Like there's so many good plays. There's so many good stacks, so many good pitchers, and at different price points, right? Like I mean, I've never seen such quality arms like the Miller Bros and BB even. Like I mean, he's 6,500. Like I think he's okay. Like, it's like there's so many different, and then of course there's decisions at the top as well. Like, do you go Garrett Cole or do you go Zach Gallen, or do you go with a lower owned Joe Ryan against a horrible White Sox team? Like, those are decisions that we're all going to have to make tonight. And I would definitely put Ryan in the bottom 3 of those expensive guys. But these cheaper options, I don't really know how to decipher like what's right and what's wrong, especially in a tournament setting, because they're great plays. And then of course there's Hunter Brown, who's in that elite level also. So I mean, there's a whole different, a lot of different ways that you can go tonight.
Yeah, shout out to Chop. By the way, I know Chop's been pumping up Hunter Brown for a while now. I remember him talking about him last year. I feel like we talked about it like the draft, like in a dynasty league. He looks legit. He's facing a San Francisco team that their lineup just came out. They're down a couple of guys. Yastrzemski's hurt. Crawford's hurt. Wade leading off. Estrada, Peterson, Conforto, Flores, Sable, Bart, Wisely, and whatever a Cal Stevenson is. That is the San Francisco lineup. It's not very good. And, again, their bullpen got worked hard back-to-back days. They were saved by somebody along man that went like 3 or 4 innings yesterday, but they have been working hard, and feels like an awesome spot for Brown as well. Chop, your assessment, how do you feel? Because, again, there's so much good stuff. I think I'm going to, there's a question in the expert survey, and Chop, I think you partook today. It says, like, who's the player you're most afraid of, like, not having enough of or, like, being significantly lower than the field? And I think my answer was Garrett Cole, just because he's facing Cleveland. Like, Cleveland, good contact team, and he's obviously an awesome pitcher, and he can overcome anything. But there's so many good stops along the way. I don't know if I'm going to get a ton of Cole. I like him, not besmirching. Not going to say you can't play him, but just a plethora of arms and like working all the way down to brothers Miller, Bybee as well, especially on DK. He's super cheap facing that New York team that is super watered down. Chop, what do you have as far as your screenshot? Let's start with the pitchers specifically, because there's just a lot of good choices. And for me, it's just like, here's guys that are in the bucket, guys that are out of the bucket, and I'll choose from the bucket. And there's clear players. There's no way I'm playing. And then there's guys that, okay, whatever works at my stack. And then we'll figure it out that way. But your thought as far as pitchers and the slate in general.
As far as pitchers, I would say that, there's a lot to choose from. And I just don't even know. I don't even know where to begin, really. You got high dollar, you got low dollar, you got some guys in the middle. You never know what kind of night it's going to be. It could be a night where 2 expensive guys wins a tournament. Could be two cheap guys that win a tournament because of the offense you can get, and there's a lot of good offense out there. Or it could be a mix of a cheap one and an expensive one. But there's just a lot of arms out there. So much so that on a normal night, I'd actually like to play me some Freddie Peralta in course field kind of stuff, to go against the grain. But I don't even know if I need to do that tonight because it's such a big slate with so many options that I think you're going to be different regardless of what you do. It's hard not to be different. So it's just a lot going on there. And then when I flip it over to the hitting side of it and how that pertains to hitting, like there you got the course field game, but I really only like the Milwaukee side in that game. And other than that stack, like there's a lot of good hitting, but I really don't like a lot of stacks tonight. So, man, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting way to build lineups. I don't know how I'm going to do it.
I feel the same way. Is Chop going to go the 1-1-1-1-1 stack tonight?
Yes. Come on, Chop. Let's do it.
Is that what we're going to do?
I might be a little different and go one off on everybody. Just one off on everybody. You never know.
It's funny. I wrote the same thing in the survey. Basically, beyond Milwaukee, like there's a lot of teams I like, but none that I feel like if I was only making 1 to 3 teams, and I'm making a few more than that tonight because again I like this slate so much. There's not a team where I feel like, oh my god, I absolutely have to have this team. If I don't have them, I'm gonna be miserable watching them like smash and put up 15 runs. Tim, what are you doing? Are you running your one lineup, 3 lineups? What's the plan tonight as far as how many laps you're rolling out tonight?
Probably just gonna do my one, but this I might max the 254 max if it's still open, because this would be the night to do it, right? I mean, I agree with you that this is a really good slate. There's so many good plays, so it's like I don't feel like you could just make so many good lineups tonight, which is a lot of fun. And I also think that ownership isn't going to get like super condensed, with pitching. So like you can just play who you want, right? Like you don't have to worry about some one pitcher being like 60% owned or whatever, like a Blake Snell or Luis Garcia or something like that. It's not going to be the case tonight. You're going to see some split ownership between like Cole and Gallen, so I think it's a really great slate. So it's either going to be one or I'm going to play 3 probably.
All right. Do want to touch on a comment here in chat. Mark is saying, everyone needs to stop thinking Cleveland don't strike out. They suck. LOL. Well, I mean, they don't strike out. Like, of course they do strike out, but compared to everybody else, they don't strike out. They strike out the second least this season, 19.6%, right behind or in front of, depending on how you look at it, Washington at 18.2%, dating back to last season versus right-handers. This starting lineup they're rolling out today strikes out at like a clip of 17.9%. They're not a strikeout team. You could say they stink. That's a different conversation, but they don't strike out when you compare to everybody else. Now, of course, they're facing Garrett Cole, and Garrett Cole has a 31.8% K rate dating back to last season, and he can overcome such things. But it's a more contact-heavy lineup than all the other lineups with the exception of maybe Washington. That's just how it is. So like those are the facts. You choose whatever you want based on the facts. But the fact is Cleveland is a contact-heavy team. Join the conversation in chat. Steer the ship. We're here for the next hour or so. I believe it's Grant who's going to fill in for Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. I will drop he's not doing any weather reports for the record. To my understanding, I will drop Ross' forecast. He just can't make the show. But I don't think there's anything too dicey weather-wise. And I imagine Roth will be updating stuff on Twitter if there happens to be something popping up. But or he'll be updating it here on the site as well. But Detroit is orange, but that's a different slate. I don't know when that was. That's happening right now or at 6:40. I'm not sure. It's not our concern. Colorado currently yellow. Oakland currently yellow, but nothing else. Yellow, green in Boston. Green, yellow in Washington. You guys can read this at your own leisure. I'll drop this in the chat. And whatever else you want us to talk about, feel free to fire away. We're talking pitching right now. Join the conversation. Chop, they want your BBP play of the day, your BBP special. I think you probably should sit in that one and make them wait and maybe get a certain amount of likes for that because the people love your BBP specials. Were you on Goldie a couple weeks ago against our was it Disco Stu? Did you win all the money that night? You had 2 homers against them.
I don't know if I won all the money, but yeah, that one definitely caught my eye. For sure, Dean. And yeah, I got a little something for you tonight. Not a lot, but a little something for you. You know, we'll wet the beak a little bit.
Chop, since you're here, okay, so I went on a little rant yesterday. I know you watch the show. I know you support the show. I was talking about, Dusty Baker knows more baseball or forgot more baseball than I know in my lifetime, yada, yada. But, like, why is DeBone the starting hitter for this team? That seems – and they're victory lapping it like Dean's a dope because DeBone had like 2 hits yesterday. So that must mean that DeBone is the greatest leadoff hitter of all time, right, based upon the sample of one game. I was saying just lead up Tucker. Like, what are we doing? DeBone you're willingly saying, I want DeBone to hit more than Tucker. I want him to hit more than Yordan Alvarez. And you're an Astros fan. How do you feel about the lineup construction? Remember the days of Kyle Tucker batting 7th? That was fun, behind Yoli Gurriel and other stiffs. Yeah. If you're making out the lineup card today, Chop, for your Houston Astros, what are you putting in there?
DeBone, lead off.
Oh, jeez. You're a donkey.
Dean, let me tell you something about this. All right, let me tell you something. All right. So let's think about it like we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. They tried Pena in the leadoff spot, and it's just a different spot. Leading off a game is just different. Some guys are just good at it. Some guys aren't. Pena was not good at it. That first at bat is probably pretty uncomfortable if you don't like that spot. So they tried that. He was terrible there, so they had to switch it up. So they put DeBone there. Now, you also have to realize there is some sort of relationship there between Dusty and DeBone. And they really like each other. I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
But there's something there. Like, there's a lot of admiration. Let's put it there. There's a lot of admiration between them. So he gravitated to DeBone last year when he was terrible. And he kept playing him. And it was like a running theme among Astros fans, like, get him out of there. He stinks. What's Dusty doing? Well, now this guy's actually hitting like 300 this year, so Dusty will never get him out of there now. But the guy's strikes out less than 10%, hits over 300. He's a leadoff guy, and he takes the pressure off of Pena having to lead off, which makes Pena more comfortable in his 4 at bats. So I'm okay with DeBone in there at the top until Jose gets back. It's just one of those things. You got to get by, Dean. They got 33% of their starting lineup is out with injuries, man. They'll be better. They'll be better.
I just hope the Astros lose tonight with DeBone making the last out and Bregman, Alvarez, Tucker all waiting to hit one last time, and DeBone pops out or whatever, and the Astros lost with the bases loaded because he's like their 9th best hitter.
You're gonna get on that. You're gonna get on the Twitter machine so fast if that happens. Like, I'm gonna be having DFS Almanac blowing up my Twitter if that happens.
What a hypocrite I am! I'm like the 1 game sample. I'm like I want a victory lap and 1 at bat sample. Of like if it fails for whatever reason. But let's see what else is going on in the chat. A lot of people are on Hunter Brown. They say Michael Wacha's going to shove. Okay, maybe. I like Wacha. I would like them a lot more last night. Like, there's like 10 guys in the slate that I would like more than everybody pitching last night. But that's – you take what the slate's giving you. K-Town's finest. You know how TJ has his Spidey bums? I got these Dean's dongs. Chopper – he's saying Chopper's got Chopper's champs and Tim's terrors? Does that work for you guys? I feel free to workshop that, but he's just throwing it out there if you want it as your bootleg Spidey bums. Chop, is that – Choppers? No, Choppers champs. Yeah. That do anything for you? What's your gimmick?
Doesn't move the needle for me, but if that's what the people want, that's fine.
No, feel free to work. What else you got? Have you considered? Have you sat down and put pen to paper and?
No, I haven't. I mean, right off, just off the top of my dome, I chompers. We could do something like that. I don't know. We're just spitballing here.
You got to pick Patrick Wisdom if you're doing chompers, right?
For sure, every day, Patty the Tooth.
Yeah. By the way, that's another one that drives me insane. He's hitting 8th again. He's looking at.
Here we go.
Hosmer.
Here we go. You had to bring up Patrick Wisdom. Oh my word!
It's insanity. I mean, are the Cubs just trying to lose? Eric Hosmer is so bad now. How bad is he? Tim, are you good with terrors? Tim's terrors?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not really about that. I'm gonna have to think of something better than that.
That's where the bar starts, though. Feel free. The chat can chime in and improve upon that. That was just thrown out there as an example. We're not married to it. Yeah. Let's see. But you mentioned ownership. Let's kind of hit that up because, like you said, it's going to be spread out all over the place on DK ownership wise as far as pitchers because there's so many strong options. Let's see what we have. I'm going to check out the Plate IQ ownership projections on DK specifically. We'll jump to Fanduel as well too. We want to cater to both sites, obviously. Let's see. Number one ownership on DK is Garrett Cole, which to me I think is kind of wrong. I think it's kind of wrong. It's close. 32% for Cole, 30% for Zach Gallen. Mason Miller at 24%, Hunter Brown at 20%, Bryce Miller at 20%. Stone minimum 4K. Biggest pitching prospect for Seattle. We've seen Mason Miller in his 101, 102 mile an hour fastball. He got beat up in the first inning last time out, kind of corrected himself, and ended up salvaging that game against the Angels. Of course, just seems too cheap when you consider his upside. But, huge opportunity cost at pitcher as well. Waka getting 10%, Urias getting 18. Is there anybody else? Joe Ryan at 3 is really interesting.
That's the one that I'm kind of confused by. Like, I don't know if Urias is going to get that high.
I agree.
That was the one that I'm like, Cole Gallen, maybe they flip flop, but I'd say they'll be 1-2. But Urias seems a little high to me.
Somebody in chat saying the same thing as far as Joe Ryan. You get 2 first names and just 3% against the White Sox, who are just putrid, right? They're terrible. Bybee only 3% as well is pretty interesting. Again, that's probably like he's the third. Is he? Well, where would you rank the 3 cheapies? Right, we're not even include Brown as far as the young, uber talented guys. The brothers Miller and Bybee. Tim, if you're going to step down and save some salary on DK in an SP2 spot, who would it be?
Mason is number 1, then Bryce, then Bybee. But Bryce makes me a little bit worried. I think he's the one that's coming right from AA, isn't he? I mean,
yes.
I understand. I understand that he's Stone Man. I understand that he probably will make a ton of things work tonight. I don't know. Like I have a little bit of reservations with him just because. I mean, it's like. I did tag him in lineup HQ. I think he's fine. I just I kind of was. I mean, that's pretty high ownership for somebody that we know very little about.
It's only $1,700 more for Miller, who it's not like Miller is like this lock and load play, but at least he's seen him a couple times and he's been, striking guys out at a major league level. The walks have been pretty good too. He had that weird inning again against the Angels where he gave up, I think, 4 or 5 runs in the first, and then his pitch count got up there pretty quickly. He only threw 4 innings, but he was clean, clean sheet beyond the first. And Seattle's a fine team, but this ballpark, of course, is not a positive when it comes to hitting baseballs. For strikeouts, it subdues a little bit with all the foul territory, but $1,700 more and 5.7 is still a bargain. So I'm with you. I prefer Mason over Bryce as well. Chop, you have a thought as far as the cheapies, Mason, Bryce, and then there, of course, is Tanner Bybee, who's 6'5" against the Yankees.
Do I have a thought on those guys? Not really. They're all fine. They'll all be in my player pool. I really can't discern between the 3 of them right now, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know how it's gonna go. Obviously I want the matchup against Oakland more, but like Tim just alluded to, it's a big jump for him. I don't know. So kind of like, but the Yankees lineup really stinks right now. It's really terrible. Mm-hmm. So, there's that. We got that going on for Bybee. So I don't know. I think they're all very, very much playable. To try to sit there and predict them, I'm not going to try to do that. I'm just going to play them all, Dean, with my 10% of all of them.
You playing on Fanduel today, DK? You playing both? What are you doing?
Yeah, since we got the show, Dean, I'm going to cut it back a little bit. 1 on DK and some multi-lineups on Fanduel.
By the way, it is worth noting, someone mentioned in chat, like Tim Anderson is back, sure. Okay, so that's Chicago lineups a little bit better. Contact guy, speed as well if he gets on. I think Ryan's really interesting at 3%, Tim. And what the chat's asking, and by the way, Tim's Taters, several people have thrown out there. That's an upgrade. If nothing else, that's an upgrade, right? Tim's Taters?
I don't know if that's an upgrade, Dean. I really don't. I really don't. I don't know if that's an upgrade at all. In fact, my first instinct, that was a big downgrade, to be honest with you.
Really? This isn't like a tater tot thing. You know, a home run is a synonym for a homer. There's many synonyms, but one is a tater. No,
I don't know.
You've heard this before, haven't you?
I just I hate fun, Dean. I hate fun all around. So it's just how I am.
Take. your take is just your anti-fun.
Yeah, that's basically it.
DFS wise, or that's just like a life motto, like a life policy?
Well, definitely in DFS. I mean, I am anti-fun in DFS, like all the way around. I mean,
do you like a water slide?
No, I don't think I've ever been on a water slide. That sounds awful.
Or a roller coaster, maybe? Ever been on a roller coaster?
No, I've been on roller coasters. Yeah, I have.
Okay.
But I didn't have fun. I didn't have fun though. I mean, it was. I did it twice, and that was the end of it. So
that's it. You checked out. Like, you're good for the rest of your life. 2, we hit the quota. All right,
yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. I want to learn a little bit more about you each time we go on the show. But we got a little insight. Who doesn't like water slides? Like, is a general chop? That's a contrarian take, is it not?
I don't know. It's not. That's that man. He can decide what he likes and doesn't like. It's not for me to decide for everybody.
I'm not trying to sway him. He's clearly made up his mind. He's not budging. His arms are crossed. It's not literally, metaphorically. It's okay. I can appreciate it. But all right, we shall move on. Tim's tool shed has also been thrown out there. Is that one of these they have to hit at some point, just like the law of averages? Maybe not. Okay. We shall move. You like hockey? You like hockey. That's one thing we know you like.
I do love hockey. I love going to Bruins games.
Oh,
which is now over. Thanks for that, Dean. Thanks for bringing that up.
Who knocked out? Yeah. Do you like a 0-0 hockey game, or you like a 7-6 hockey game? Which
that's the thing. I love 0-0 hockey games.
You can't be serious.
Oh yeah. In fact, until I started playing DFS, I loved 0-0 baseball games. You know, like
no,
it's only until I started playing DFS, I was like, I hate offense. You know,
this is a bit now. You're doing a bit.
No, I'm not doing. Remember, Dean, I don't like fun. There's no bit here. So,
you like Thursday night football? Those like 13-7 shootouts. I can't believe.
Man, those games are even bad for me. Wow.
Okay.
Those Thursday night games, yeah, those are pretty ugly.
You draw the line somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. You hate hearing the horn at the hockey game, even if it's Boston scoring. That horn is obnoxious. Who wants to hear that?
Right. Exactly.
They want to know, Tim, cash games, DK. You got to roster 2 of these pitchers. Is it sort of like you build your lineup and like what's left of the 2? Pick 2 guys that fit out of your 6 guys that are acceptable in cash games. Who's the starting pitcher cash game pool, and where do you think you're going to land as far as your cash game pitchers?
For cash games, I'd say that there's 4 or 5 guys that are in the pool. The thing that's so weird about tonight, though, is that they are priced so differently, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, I think you've got to go Cole or Gallon. You could do both. That might be giving up a little too much at the bat, offense position, but I think Cole is my favorite for cash. I completely understand why people don't want to play him in tournaments. I completely understand, like, yes, Cleveland doesn't strike out. I get it. But I think he'd be my preferred option for cash games. And then I'm kind of struggling. It's like, I kind of want to play Mason Miller. I know he projects amazing for his price point. I know that we need to get some really expensive bats in tonight. So it's probably going to be Cole, Mason Miller for me. But if you wanted to go Gallon, Mason Miller, if you wanted to go Hunter Brown and one of Cole or Gallon, I think that'd be okay too. And then I was just building, teams just for tournaments, not for cash, just for tournaments with both Millers in. And 5K per, talk about fun, 5K per bat on DK. I mean, that's my idea of fun right there. So I think that's going to be an interesting way to go this evening also. But I think it's really those 5 different pitchers for cash.
Gallen, Brown, Miller, Cole. Those 4. Who's the 5th one? Gallen, Brown, Mason Miller, Garrett Cole. Who was the 5th one? Was there a 5th one you threw?
The other, Bryce Miller.
Okay. Yeah.
Both.
That's the one I would be hesitant about first. I'm not playing cash.
Yeah, no,
I
understand. I just think, if you save the 1,700 off of Mason, and if that's a big difference. So I think it's okay to play him in cash.
We have some umpire data. The chat's asking about the umpire data. There's some extreme hitters umps out there. Chop, how much do you care about such things? Disco Stu, Disco Fonnie's got an extreme hitters umpire, as does Michael Waka, Ashcraft. Your boy Hunter Brown's got an extreme hitters umpire. Tyler Wells, Zach Gallen's got an extreme hitters umpire, as does John Gray, as does Ryan Yarborough. A lot of extreme hitters umpires. By the way, he kind of like brushed over Zach Gallen, who's like the hottest pitcher in baseball right now. Last 4 starts, this is just egregious, absurd, whatever adjective you want to use. 27 innings, 41 strikeouts, 0 earned runs. We don't talk about earned runs, but 0 earned runs, 44.6% strikeouts, 1.1% walks, 49% ground balls. Just outrageous. He's a reverse splits pitcher as well, too, so you want to see more lefties than righties. I think we have 5 lefties in this Texas lineup. Just want to confirm as I pull up the old plate IQ. Let's see. We got Jankowski, Lau, Heim, Grossman. Oh, it's 4 because I guess Bubba Thompson cracked it. He stinks anyway. There's your mush play of the day. Enjoy some Bubba Thompson. Chop, yeah. Jump in here as far as extreme hitters umpire. Do we care? Is that something you're worried about? Is that the old tiebreaker?
Well, speaking of Bubba Thompson, on Saturday I had dinner at a place called Bubba's. So it could be a sign, Dean. It could be a sign.
What do they specialize in? I'm assuming like steak.
It was kind of like an eclectic mix of all kinds of different stuff, Dean. It was pretty good though. It's pretty good. But
what'd you have?
I had the salmon with some on a bed of rice, and some mashed potatoes with gravy.
Say that again. The what now?
Salmon.
Tim, you're hearing that, right? You're hearing that, Tim?
I am, yeah. I don't really know what's happening with Chop right now.
Just want to make sure it's not me. Yes, he had the fish is another way of saying it for sure. But all right,
it's not a salmon.
I mean, salmon is a fish. If that's what you're asking, yes.
Oh, it's
salmon?
Remember
the outfielder for the Angels in the late '90s? He had a lot of power.
Tim Salmon.
Tim Salmon.
Tim Salmon.
All right, fair enough. Yeah.
Umpires, Dean. Get back on topic. Umpires.
Yeah. Well, I think
it is maybe a tiebreaker, but I'm certainly not building lineups around umpire data.
Derek's just better call Salmon, which made me laugh. But go ahead.
When I get in there, Dean, and I start building a lineup, and I get down to position, I'm like, dang, man, I can't decide between these guys. Yeah, you start pulling up some weird stuff, and hopefully something stands out to you. One of those things might be umpire data. This guy's got an easy hitters umpire, so I can take the hitter here. I'd rather have this guy than this guy. Or dare I say, Dean, I might look at some BVP if I need to break some ties, So who knows?
That's the first thing you're supposed to look at, isn't it? That's not the tiebreaker. That's like
for this. Yeah. No, Dean, come on now. Yeah, this is very disrespectful. It's a very disrespectful conversation you're trying to lead me to here, Dean.
It's my understanding that that's how you start your lineups. You look for the best PvP players, and if they happen to all be on 8 different teams, then so be it. You just make a lineup with 1-1, 1-1, 1-1, 1-1, and then there you go. You enter all the contests, and you turn on Netflix. You're good to go. Is that not the strategy? Am I wrong here? Feel free to enlighten me.
Like I said, Dean, you're trying to take this to a disrespectful place right now as it pertains to BVP. I'm not appreciating it. Let's just move on.
Jose wants to know if Bybee is someone you can play in cash. I'll ask. I don't think so. I think he's fine, but
I think he's fine. I think he's a really great play for tournaments at 3%, but not for cash.
Did want to take a peek at the ownership on FanDuel. Obviously, FanDuel 100 percentage points to go around, as opposed to the 200 percentage points on DK. So ownership will be lower for pretty much everybody. That's how math works. The number one projected guy, it's pretty flat up top. 21% for Garrett Cole at 11.5. Zach Gallen's actually $300 more. Therefore, a little bit less as far as the ownership, getting 18.5%. Yeah, I disagree with the Urias stuff. I think Urias is fine. Harper's back tonight, by the way, left on left. Probably not the best time for him to come back, but awesome for him to come back. Good for him. Just incredible. His recovery time is outrageous. I assume he's going to be DHing for a while, coming back from that Tommy John. I want to see if there's anything different. That's the bat ownership. What's the plate IQ ownership? Probably similar. Let's see. It's flatter. It's much flatter on plate IQ. The highest ownership projection is actually Waka at 7K, which really opens stuff up on FanDuel. We haven't really talked about him. We kind of mentioned him in passing, 17%. Garrett Cole at 17%. Urias 15. Mason Miller at 12. Hunter Brown 11. Bryce Miller at 5. Gallen at 3.5%. Man, if that is true, that is an awesome play on FanDuel. This was last refined at 5.18 on the East Coast. It gets tinkered with. The closer we get to lock, the more we close and unlock, the more accurate these numbers theoretically will become. What do you think of that there, Chop, on FanDuel? Michael Wacha, currently the highest. Now it's really close. It's condensed. And he's 7K, and basically you can get whatever you want as far as your stacks. You feel good with Wacha against the Reds, you kind of think?
Do I feel good? No, I don't feel particularly good. Doesn't have the most inspiring game log this year. And the Reds aren't very good, and it's a low team total he's got working in his favor tonight. But yikes, I don't know. With all this talent on the board, I wouldn't feel particularly good with Michael Wacha. He's from Texas A&M though, so he's a Texas guy. That's good for him.
There you go. Shout out. Go Aggies. Brewers lineup came out, by the way. Yelich leading off. Winker, Adames, Tellez, Contreras, Anderson, Turang, Taylor. I don't think Taylor was projected to be in there. Teron Taylor and Weimer is the Milwaukee lineup. Was Taylor projected, Tim, or was there somebody else that was projected in there? I feel like it might have been somebody else.
There was somebody else.
Yeah.
There was somebody else in there, Dean. You want me to tell you
we'll
who
talk
it was?
stacks. Yeah, sure. Why not?
I think it was Mike Brousseau was projected in there.
That is probably who it was. That's a good call. Only a couple lefties in that bullpen for Colorado, and I think they DFA Ty Bloch, their lefty long man, so he will not be available. I think there's only 2 lefties for Colorado. Give me the summary, Chop, as far as pitchers. I'm trying to see if anybody else is getting thrown out in chat pitching wise. They aren't. I see some hitting questions. Feel free to ask those again. I may have missed them. We're going to talk hitting. We're going to talk stacks, taking you all the way up to 6:15, where we yield to crunch time. Crunch time would be Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth not going to be here. It's going to be Grant Neiffer from Scores and Odds fame. He'll be jumping in Grant's. What did he have? Turd bombs. I think it's not turd bombs anymore. Retired that. It's something else. Some kind of homers. I don't think they're taters for the record.
Turd bombs are retired?
I think turd bombs got retired. I'm pretty sure turd bombs.
I didn't get an email about that. I mean, nothing. It just went away.
Yeah. Would you have tried to stop it? Would you have protested against?
I don't know. They were pretty cool there for a while.
Tim, have you seen The Office before?
Mm-hmm.
The show, The Office?
Oh, yeah.
Well, all right. Somebody in chat says you kind of remind them of Stanley in The Office, and I can see that. You remember, Stanley?
Yeah.
Like his crosswords and his Sudoku, just.
Yes, I am all about that. That's fine. That's a good comp. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, you could take turds. Tim's turds. Well, I guess that's not as good. You want the turd?
No, you can't do that. You can't copy that. No.
You can't repackage it.
No.
Like a show will get canceled, and then like another network will pick them up. Like that. That's how that happens sometimes. I guess not. True. I suppose it's not. It's not going to work that
for
way.
Sure. I'm behind it, Dean. I support that one. Tim's turds. Hey, that reminds me, Dean. That reminds me.
What does Tim's turds remind you of?
I just got finished watching Jury Duty on Amazon.
Yes. Tell me it was good.
It was good. They had that one episode. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Well, I've seen every episode. There's 8 of them. It's a pretty.
We're
quick
talking
watch.
about Tim's turds.
Oh, yes.
That was a classic.
So, Chop, you like to give me a hard time about the movies I like and the TV shows I like. Will you actually? I'm not fishing or nothing, but would you endorse the take that the people should be watching Jury Duty? Not the Pauly Shore movie. That's a whole different thing. I'm talking about the Jury Duty that's like came out with James Marsden. It's a reality show. Not a big fan of reality shows. This one's different, trust me. But you like it. You would suggest it to the people?
I would suggest it because what you're looking for in a comedy is you just want to laugh sometimes. Not everything is going to make you laugh all the time, but there were several times during the course of that 8 episodes where I actually laughed out loud pretty heartily. So I definitely, just because of that, I would recommend it. Yeah.
Derek said he watched the Pauly Shore movie, did not hold up as I liked. Yeah, I mean, it turns out like when you're 10, you're not really as sharp. You don't really know what's funny and not necessarily. And I, for the record, did not recommend the Jury Duty Pauly Shore movie. All right, let's give a summary here, Tim. I just tuned in 5 minutes ago. They're talking about turds and things of that sort. Let's get it back on track. Tell the people your favorite pitchers, cash game, tournaments. Give me the summary.
Yeah, for cash games, I'd go Garrett Cole, Zach Gallen, Mason Miller, Hunter Brown, Bryce Miller. You could put those guys in your cash game consideration. And then I think Bybee for tournaments, Joe Ryan for tournaments are really good plays also.
Chop, final word as far as pitchers?
There's a lot of them that I like. There's like 10, 11 of them that I could get behind. Starts with Cole, Gallen, the Miller boys, Hunter Brown, Joe Ryan, Wells, Urias and Walker are in the list, but not quite as high for me. It would say there's a question in chat. It says, are y'all scared of Freddie in Colorado? I would say absolutely not. I like Freddie Peralta. I don't know if I need him tonight. I would want to play him for the ownership aspect on most slates, but I mean, like I said, this stuff's probably going to be spread out anyway, so I don't know if you need him. But yeah, I don't fear Freddie in Coors Field at all. He's had 2 games there. One of them he had to leave after like an out, so that didn't. And the other one was like a 13 strikeout, 0 run performance, so he's fine. And then there's are we sure it's Tanner Bybee and not like Bibby, like Mike Bibby? Tanner Bibby.
It's Bybee, yeah. I watched them get interviewed, and the guy called him Bybee, so I assume that's correct.
All right. Well, and you got Bybee, so yeah, lots of guys there from the pitching.
Adam Wainwright expected to make his season debut on Saturday. I'm surprised you're not a little bit more on Brown. I thought you were going to give us the hard sell on Brown. The San Francisco lineup's pretty watered down. No Crawford, no Yastrzemski. Really strikeout heavy, especially in the back half. And also, I think they pushed him a little bit, not fully, but like I think you're getting 6 strong out of Brown today because that bullpen system worked so hard the past couple of days. All his ground balls, 58.9% ground balls. I feel really good about Brown today, actually. But you like him, obviously, Chop, but you're not like having him separate from the field.
Well, the price on DraftKings is in the $400 cheaper than Zach Gallen. He's not like you're saving some big amount there. I do like him. He's an awesome pitcher. He's gone 7 innings pretty easily, 3 of the last 4 starts. So he's got it in his repertoire to get up there to 7+ innings. So he's fine. He's kind of priced up there now to where he should be. So he's not jumping off salary-wise.
All right. Do want to mention, if you don't want to mess with all these salaries, you mentioned salary. Check out Stat Hero. If you're not aware of Stat Hero is a unique fantasy sports platform that you already know and love, allows users to compete against the house instead of other players in a contest. You're not competing against Chopper. You're not competing against Tim. Their Searing 12 contest, that's over, but the Searing 15 contest for the NBA playoffs and the Searing 20 contest for MLB Pick'em, that's just getting started. Join now. It's free to play contest. Start your streak. Keep your streak alive by playing every single day. Build your streak and win prizes with consecutive wins, including swag, RG Premium, and the cash prizes of up to $10,000 first prize for the Searing 15 and $20,000 first prize for the Searing 20. We're going to give you a nice sweet deposit bonus as well. That's Grinders, 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 50% deposit bonus up to $250. Jump into the action today at Stat Hero. All right. Randall City is going Cole and Wells. We didn't talk about Wells, and Wells is somebody I think would have been interesting yesterday and not as interesting today. Several people saying Biodome. They're touting Biodome in the chat, and I cannot. You know who's going to like Biodome? I guarantee this. Grant's going to come on in 30 minutes and say Biodome is a masterpiece because he has the worst taste in movies. All right. We shall move on. Let's talk about hitters. I'm going to throw it the chop. Stacks. Milwaukee. We just threw out that Milwaukee lineup. They have a 6 total in Coors Field, facing one of the worst pitchers in the best ballpark, locked in for 9, one of the worst bullpens as well. There's a lot of good offenses that are worth considering. What's your official Coors Field stance today? Where are you at as far as the Brewers? Yeah, you already kind of touched on Colorado. You're more so on the Peralta side than the Rockies, but start with Milwaukee, Chop, and then branch out from there.
Yeah, Milwaukee. Pretty awesome stack right there. I'd be playing them if I could. And like I said, as far as like all-out stacks where you're going 4 or 5 players, it's a conundrum tonight, Dean, because with 12 games, when we look back on it after the fact, you're probably going to get the winning lineups are going to be consisted of some stacks like that, some big ones, because there's 24 teams in action. So, somebody's going to break loose. You just got to get lucky and hit it. But when I look at it before the slate starts, outside of that Milwaukee, kind of not a huge fan of these guys. The Cubs have some nice power, so I don't mind the Cubs against Trevor Williams. For as bad as they've been this year, St. Louis, I'm still going to gravitate to them against a left-handed pitcher, so I don't mind St. Louis. Also, don't mind Baltimore. They've got some stolen base and home run upside in their lineup. So those are like the 3 stacks outside of Milwaukee that I kind of like. But other than that, yeah, man, I'm not really loving a whole lot of stacks tonight, Dean.
All right, let's look at our consensus value rankings. Myself, Kirkwood, Mr. Tuttle, Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood will be on in 15 minutes, as well as Derek Carty, the join Grant for crunch time, taking y'all straight up the lock, answering all your questions in the Discord first, and then if they have time allows, they'll knock out the questions in the YouTube. Of course, you have your questions out on YouTube, feel free, throw them out there. I will get to as many as possible as well. Tim, Milwaukee, number 1 consensus team, not surprisingly. Number 2, this is pretty consensus as well, is Minnesota versus Kopech and all his home run issues. That ballpark plays well for homers there in Chicago. Toronto, still in Fenway, is number 3. Colorado, number 4. The Angels. I was the only person that ranked the Angels. I put them 4th. Matt's given a lot of homers as well. No Ohtani in that lineup, which kind of hurts them. But I like a mini stack at least of the Angels. Then Boston. We're all divided on 4 and 5 for what it's worth. Boston, Chicago, St. Louis.
Oh, who's number 3, Dean?
Milwaukee, number 1, Minnesota, number 2, and Toronto. We all started with Milwaukee, Minnesota, Toronto, and then right there, after that, we all branch out. I did not hit Colorado. Others hit Colorado. The Angels, Boston, Chicago. That's the Cubbies. St. Louis. I put St. Louis on there just because of their prowess for smacking around lefties last season. They've been horrendous this year by their standards. They're facing a lefty Sandoval who gets a lot of ground balls, so it's not necessarily one I want to pick on, but especially on Fanduel with some really good prices and some of those players, like Arenado is down to like 2.9, I want to say. Tyler O'Neill's 2.6. I really like the Cardinals as an off the board play. Whenever you get the Cardinals against a lefty who's fine, a professional pitcher, but not a gas bag or gas can, whatever you want to say. Then there's the Padres and a little bit of Royals love from Dave. He'll be coming on later and backing that up. But where are you at? Do you agree that that's kind of the tier? Milwaukee, Minnesota, Toronto, or it's probably Milwaukee, Gap, Minnesota, Toronto, then another Gap. I guess that's what we're doing here.
I think it's clearly going to be Milwaukee, Minnesota. Then I think there's going to be a pretty significant gap. I think Toronto makes for a fantastic tournament play. I don't think they're going to get that much ownership. Like, I'm looking at our top stacks tool. They're coming in around 4 or 5%, depending on the site. Going to be optimal around 5-6%, depending on the site. So it's not really going to be that high on a team. I think it's clearly going to be Minnesota, definitely on FanDuel, because they're really cheap. But I mean they're cheap on both sites. So I mean Minnesota, Milwaukee are going to be the clear chalk. You're going to be getting exposure to both those teams in cash games. It's it's definitely those two teams are going to be the highest owned. But Toronto's my favorite kind of non chalky team, followed by probably the Angels and then San Diego. But I mean, if you live in that tier, away getting away from Minnesota or Milwaukee, then you pretty much like you don't really have to worry about ownership after Minnesota Milwaukee is my point. Like if you elect to fade those two teams, then you're already different enough. Like you can get your ownership should be down low enough where you have leverage on the field in a large field GPP.
Yeah, homer hunting with Minnesota looks like a pretty good spot against Kopech. If you want to just go this year the numbers are really unkind. As far as yielding homers. I'm pulling it up right now on the fly, but I think it's way too many per 9. Yeah, 2.8 homers per 9. Now, obviously, the homer to fly ball is a little bit unlucky at 25%, but he's allowing 43% fly balls. Joey Gallo, Buxton, Larnach, Kepler, all those guys are interesting in the Minnesota side. Kikuchi gives up too many homers. He's in Fenway. It's probably not going to protect him. 2 homers per 9 in the small sample. And Matt's a lot of homers as well, 1.73. Homers per 9. Not a ton of fly ball, so a little bit unlucky as far as homing the fly ball, but I do like those Angels as well. I'm kind of happy you don't have to make the Ohtani decision, but Ohtani would have been like solo owned on this slate if he was playing, but not playing today, left on left, or giving him a day off. Probably sneaks in if the situation calls for it and pinch hits at some point. Feel free to throw out your questions in chat if you're dealing with 2v2s or last man in for cash or stack questions. Again, we're here for the next, 15, 20 minutes till we yield to crunch time. Happy to knock out your questions. Do hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. We got to get that like button up so Chop will reveal his BBP plays of the day. K-Town's Finest asking DK Torney thoughts on Angels St. Louis game stack. Yeah, I know somewhere Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, is cringing when he reads that because he doesn't like that term, and I kind of don't like that term either. It's not really a thing for me, but organically, I'm okay with it because I like both sides of that game. That was my bold call today. That will be the highest scoring game on the board. We shall see. Probably not, but that's why it's a bold call. What do you think, Chop? You like that Angels St. Louis game? Is it sneaky, underrated? I think the line jumped up from 8.5 to 9 at some point throughout the day. Now it's back down to 8.5, probably because Ohtani wasn't playing. I'm not sure. But, I like the Angels in the Cardinals game a good bit for tournaments. Wind is blowing out pretty significantly to right field. I was trying to see if Weather Edge has something on it, but it's so few games. 15 games or something like that I don't really want to draw a major conclusion out of it. 17 miles per hour to right center field, 63 degrees. The dew point at 25, but just an 11-game sample. We don't really have much to draw from. Chop, you like that Angels Cardinals game? Is there another stack you want to feature and highlight and make sure the people know about?
Angels, Cardinals, Sandoval. Yeah, a couple lefties going at that one, right? Am I correct? A couple left-handers.
You are correct.
Yeah. Always, anytime you get that kind of a situation, sure. I like that. Game's fine. Dean, if I'm going totally off the radar, totally off the reservation, I don't know if you can still use that term these days in 2023, but if I'm going off the reservation here, I'll throw a crazy stack out there. Arizona, no ownership, 0 ownership. Something about them just kind of makes me think they may put up some runs tonight. So Arizona.
Questions in chat. Tim, Mark wants to know Hunter Brown and Trevino, DK tournaments, right? It's the 2v2. Hunter Brown and Trevino or Wells and Will Smith for DK tournaments, not knowing anything else. How would you answer that question?
I guess the first one, the Hunter Brown one.
Tim, staying with you for cash. So if you're going to ask questions about Miller, there's 2 Millers. Feel free to specify which Miller you're asking about. Bybee or Miller for cash on DK. And again, I don't know which Miller they're asking about.
I was going to say, it really matters which Miller, but hopefully it's Mason Miller, and I would go Mason Miller.
Matt says Chopper throws out a great call. Nobody mentioned Arizona all day, and Dean completely ignores him. Well, was I supposed to have follow-up question? Chop, follow-up question in Arizona.
I really like that call, actually. I think that's a really good call. I
It's
think
fine.
Joe.
It's fine.
I don't know. I liked it.
But you're not playing Arizona. You make one lineup. You're not playing Arizona.
You're right. You're right, Dean. I'm not. That's why I didn't say
Yeah.
anything. But you're the host. You should at least acknowledge it. You should at least acknowledge it.
I gave the head nod. I gave the non-verbal clue.
People are listening, Dean. People are listening to the show, Dean. You don't head nod, okay? Like you gotta speak. You gotta speak.
So I said, hell of a call, Chopper. Moving on.
Yeah,
that's
pretty good. That's pretty good.
Chop, I just thought about this, and I was thinking it, but for some reason I didn't verbalize it. That Arizona stack, dynamite, just a fabulous call. Really spectacular. Nobody's been talking about Arizona all day today, but you.
Yeah.
This is why you win $1 million twice.
Let me jump in here, Dean, real quick. I'm gonna throw this one out. I'm just throwing stuff off the wall. I hope this sticks. What about Tim's tits? Because in England they're like, oh, that's the tits, man. That's the tits. Like,
what was that accent you were doing there?
That didn't sound like an English accent, Chop, at all. At all. That wasn't even close, man. That wasn't even close.
Okay. I'm not the best accent guy. You get what I'm saying, though.
You got to watch a little more Ted Lasso, is all I'm saying. I don't think that was anywhere close to an English accent. I don't know what you're going for, but yeah, all right, fair enough. Tim, what about it? I was going to ignore it, but the chat has taught me that I'm supposed to acknowledge what Chop says, no matter how absurd it may or may not be.
I mean, I hate fun. So no, I'm not about that. But I appreciate the effort. You guys can keep trying. It's fine.
Yeah. All right. Some more options being thrown out in chat. Oh, a Merrifield question. I'm not sure if I'm being trolled or not. You got to be an old school listener for that. All right. So, Chop, this is a question for Yahoo. I think are you still banned on Yahoo? Are you still an Apex Predator over there? Weren't you not playing there for years?
Yeah, they readjusted the rules, so I could technically play if I wanted to, but I don't.
Okay.
You know what? You rub me the wrong way. I'm going to hold a grudge for a while. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. I understand. But theoretically, let's say you're playing on Yahoo, Merrifield or Polanco. So they're making a Toronto, Minnesota. Looks like a double stack of Minnesota and Toronto. I would say Polanco out of those two. What would you say, Merrifield or Polanco, if you're stacking up those two teams, Toronto and Minnesota?
Merrifield. I'd say, I'd say Polanco, but yikes, who knows?
Tim, Derek wants to know DK tournaments, Toronto stack. Who do you prioritize, Varsho or Chapman? I think that answer is Chapman if you can get the Chapman, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if it's just a straight 1v1, it's Chapman. But I really like Toronto tonight, so I'm fine with either one. But Chapman would be my preferred choice.
Let's see what else is going on in the chat. Other questions that are being thrown out. Mark wants to know, why is there no Padres love? Ashcraft been lucky with BABIP? No. Let's see how lucky Ashcraft has been. Padres.
I don't know.
Fun.
I don't know how lucky he's been, but I really like the Padres tonight. They would be like, if you don't want to eat the chalk with Minnesota, Milwaukee, I think like Toronto, San Diego, and the Angels are that following tier of teams that I think are just in really, really great spots tonight. So I really like San Diego.
So just this year, 30 innings pitched from Ashcraft, 2.1 ERA is obviously awesome, but the Sierra tells a different story. A 4.97 Sierra, which that's a big boy number. The BABIP is 232, so lucky there. The left on base at 83%, so lucky there. The home on the fly ball is just 4.5%, so lucky there as well. So, yeah, their aggression monsters should be knocking on the door of Ashcraft.
I think that's a great call.
Enough.
Yeah,
it's a good call. I like it. See, I mean, I'm not just pandering because I just learned. I'm supposed to acknowledge every suggestion. I think this is a better call. How about this, Chop? No offense here. This is a better call than your Diamondbacks. How about that? The Padres, that is.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course, Dean, the Padres, they're like much more popular, right, than the Diamondbacks. That was the whole point of the Diamondbacks. There's much more unlikely. it's much more unlikely. Well, they got the second highest team total. A lot of people just sort by team total and start plugging in stacks these days.
We live in the world of a salary cap, though, Chopper. If you want to spend up on some pitchers, it's kind of tricky to make to tease. Well, Machado is 3K on Fanduel, which is like a steal.
No, the Padres are like. Listen, I think the Padres are awesome. That offense it moves the needle, man. Now that it's getting healthy again, I like it a lot. Don't get me wrong, I like it. Dean, by the way, your boy Jimmy Butler been ruled out tonight for Game 2.
Good. I think that's probably
I think it's good also, Dean. I think that's good also.
Get out of town. You got the split.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give him 6 full days.
They don't play
of rest
until Saturday, I think.
Yeah.
Is it Friday or Saturday? When's the next game?
Saturday.
What's that?
You got the Heat and the Panthers. You got the Heat and the Panthers, Dean. Like what? Like you're amazing. You're the best.
Number 8 seed knocking out number 1 seed in Milwaukee. Number 8 seed knocking out the number 1 seed in Boston. Boston Bruins, to my understanding, were the greatest regular season hockey team of all time. And it's poetic because last year I believe the Panthers had, if not the best record in hockey. They had like top 2 or top 3, and they got knocked out in the first round. That's just how hockey playoffs goes sometimes.
Let's ask Tim a question. Question for Tim, real fast. So, what makes you more angry when your team gets eliminated? When your team gets eliminated from the playoffs, does that make you angrier, or is it when a guy like Dean, who just tunes in for the playoffs and his teams go on these runs and he's all
right? That actually makes me a lot angrier. Anything that Dean does, I think, makes me angrier.
You don't like fun and you don't like me, is what I'm getting.
Right.
Fair enough. That's understood. So look, I kept an eye on both these teams throughout the entire season. I'm not just like out of nowhere, who is this Barkov character? Tkachuk, I've heard of his father. Like, I know who the players are, I've been following. By the way, Boston, kind of a panic move, changing the goalies in Game 7. That right there is when you knew they were scared. That was a panic move. That's not a looking back kind of thing. When I saw it, I'm like, why? I know their goalie wasn't spectacular, especially in Game 6. And I don't know if he was dinged or not, but that was kind of you don't do that, right? I mean, that's retrospective. It didn't work out, whatever. But it seemed like a strange move. And I think once upon a time, it's better than me. Wasn't Swayman like the top guy in Boston not too long ago? I think he was, but I guess not.
Yeah, but Allmark was clearly the top guy this year. So I really do agree with you, though, that they definitely should not have done that. I did not agree with him doing that.
Okay, so Jose's clarified for us, Tim. You want Bybee or Bryce Miller in cash on DK?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I still think you'd go Bryce if you don't want to do that because you can get a couple more bats that way. So I'd go Bryce.
You like any bets tonight, Chop? Anything in the association? Anything in baseball? Any props that you think are pretty interesting?
Dean, I already. I laid a money line parlay last night. It was. I shouldn't say that because I'm not in a state that's legal to gamble. But if
it's all right. Yeah.
If I were to lay a bet down, it would have been the Knicks and the Celtics. Because I kind of had a feeling. I kind of had a feeling that Jimmy was not going to be playing tonight, and the Heat are notorious for like Game 2. Who cares? We won the first one, so I loved that one. And when the minute the Celtics lost, that's exactly what they did last year. They would lose games they were supposed to win, and then the next game they would come back and win by 20 or 30 points. So, yeah, I was on the Knicks Celtics pretty good.
Miami line just jumped from 7 to 8.5. The Heat's getting 8.5 tonight. By the way, second, not to steer, we're happy to answer any baseball questions. Fire them off in 10 minutes. We got the Crunch Time crew coming in. We got Dave Potts. We have Grant holding it down, asking questions. And, of course, Derek Carty, CEO of the Bat and the Blitz. Lakers-Warriors should be an absolute blast. Okay, Tim, okay. I know you don't like fun, but Lakers-Warriors, come on. This is fun, yes? Lakers-Warriors?
That's pretty close to fun, Dean. It's pretty close.
You might consider maybe turning it on like last 2 minutes of the game, that kind of thing.
Probably I'd give it 5 minutes.
Okay.
I turn on a lot of basketball games last 2 minutes, but 5 minutes, that's respect. That's respect.
I mean, I've watched 48 minutes of Pistons Hornets this year. So like, I know what fun is. I know what not fun is. That's definitely not fun.
We had so many chalk Pistons Hornets games, I feel like, but I didn't watch 48 minutes straight of it. I mean, that's rough. That's rough.
I don't like myself. Alex in chat saying, can we gush over Hunter Brown? I got here late. Yeah, I was talking about how much I love Hunter Brown, and I thought Chop would like double down on it. That's his boy for the Astros, and Chop, gave the half-hearted. He didn't say what a great point, Dean, but he kind of endorsed it, and we just casually moved on. But yeah, I think Hunter Brown's fabulous, and with their bullpen being worked really hard the last couple of days, they're not going to push the guy too hard, obviously. But I think 6 innings looks really, really strong. As a bet, I was going to write it up for scores and odds to potentially know a guy and ask to get that in. I didn't like the number though. I think it was 16.5 outs, over 16.5 outs, like minus 135. But I feel really good about that. I think it's a pretty good bet. Still like laying that much juice. Anybody have a thought as far as that's what 5? He's got to go 5 2/3 against this San Fran lineup that's terrible and weakens and strikes out a ton. So I don't know. I think Hunter Brown goes 6 tonight, basically. So he's one of my favorite plays. If anybody has a thought, feel free to chime in. Otherwise, we shall move on. Oh, they're saying Chop sounds like Mitch Hedberg a little bit. Chop, you wear Mitch Hedberg?
I think so. I mean, comedian, right?
Yeah. I used to do drugs.
Yeah.
I still do, but I used to too. Yeah, I didn't deliver that correctly, but I boxed it. But yeah, you got to watch his whole presentation, Mitch Hedberg. He's fabulous comedian. He's unfortunately left us way too soon. Good Subway jokes. If you want a Subway joke, hit up Mitch Hedberg. He's got a joke about the club sandwich. He's all over the place.
Really? Wow. Okay.
He's got all one-liners basically. Aaron says, "I'm going to take this one. Anybody feel free to cut me off, but can we play Hosmer and DK Cash tonight?" No. The Cubs shouldn't be playing Hosmer. No. Anybody want to disagree with me yet? Are we all mushing Hosmer together as in unison? There's no chance I play Eric Hosmer. I don't care how many lineups I'm making.
I feel like that's like a one-liner somewhere in a Mitch Hedberg act. Can I play Hosmer and Cash? Like, it's just so far out there, man. The 12 gamer, 24 teams, 24 times 9 batters. How do you get?
You're not playing Eric Hosmer. Hosmer is so toast these days. Dodgers lineups out, by the way. Betts, Freeman, Smith, Muncy, Taylor, Outman, Vargas, Rojas is back, and Barnes. I think that's what we had projected. I'm pretty sure. No Hayward, but that's to be expected against the lefty. I saw somebody asking about Matt Strahm. Unnecessary for me in the slate. Tim, how do you feel about Strahm facing the Dodgers? I just, there's too many pitchers, and it just doesn't seem like that's, yeah.
I think if I was making 150 tonight, I think I'd X him right out. I'd have no interest.
Let's see. They're talking some more Mitch Hedberg. The Cardinals. We did talk about the Cardinals, Alex. Why is Arenado still hitting cleanup for St. Louis? Yeah, he's not been great so far. But what are you supposed to do? Who's hitting great for St. Louis this year? If it's not Arenado, who should be hitting cleanup? I just like SCL Cards Twitter every single night. It gets more depressing because he just keeps smashing on his how bad his Cardinals have been. Let's pull up this year's stats for the Cardinals. And again, last year, best hitting team against lefties. Arenado this year, oh man, it's so bad beyond Arenado. The rest of the pieces are just terrible. It's small samples, so they haven't really faced a lot of lefties this year. I think that's part of it. I feel like they faced a lot of righties. But Contreras and Edman have smashed them. But I think Edman was like basically beating up Madison Bumgarner. He got him at least once. That they kicked him out of the league. That was it. And ever since then, they've midnight has struck for St. Louis. But I think it's going to turn around soon enough. Let's play this stat game. 1 through 5. Put a number on a team. 5, you love it, Chop. 1, you hate it. 3, you're somewhere in the middle. Let's talk about those Cardinals. Where would you put the Cardinals if you put a number on how you prioritize them? All things considered, ownership, all the good stuff, everything baked in. Chop, where do you have the Cardinals tonight?
5 being really good. Yeah. I would say 4. I kind of like them.
Tim, rebut?
For St. Louis?
Yeah.
2.
Oh, look at you hating on the Cardinals. All right. How about the Astros and their number one hitter leading off, Mauricio Dubon? Where do you have the Astros, Tim?
Maybe a 3.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. Chopper, your Astros?
Like 2.75.
Decimals play.
Yep.
You know, Chop, you got over or under 2.75?
I'd probably go a little bit over that because I'd probably go maybe a 3.1. And let me get back to the Arizona. The 4 was, I thought we were rounding up, so give me a 3.6. That's more accurate on the Cardinals. But for the Astros, I go 3.1 because the lineup's pretty similar to what I thought, and Corey Julks is in there tonight, so I like him. He's from the University of Houston, and he's smashing, Dean. So let's give that one a 3.1.
Go Cougars. Hey, Chop, we teased it earlier, the BBP play of the day. I don't know if we got enough likes for it. Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. Do all the things.
I want to say we got one like, and I think it was a relative of yours because it was the last name Shavelson. So I'm not sure how that works.
There's a lot of Shavelsons. So it's like Smiths these days. They've been procreating like crazy. But yeah, what do you have as far as BBP? The people love the BBP special.
There's not a lot, but one that I do like tonight. We're going to go back to that Cardinals game, but on the other hand, the Angels. Is Brandon Drury in the lineup?
Yeah.
I want some Brandon Drury tonight. There's my BVP special for you. Brandon Drury.
How big is it? Like 7 at-bats, 20 at-bats? What's the sample? What do we have?
11 at-bats, Dean, but let's not worry about the actual sample size. You're a guy who's quoting Jason Hayward stats from like 32 at-bats when he's had a 10-year career, a 14-year career, and you're just taking 32 at-bats to start the season. So we're not worried about sample, Dean. We're just worried about some key factors here that jump off, and Drury
He's been
matches
hitting the ball hard this year. That's undeniable.
So has Drury. So has Drury.
Well, you're talking about Drury like in 7 at-bats sprayed out through his 10-year career.
It's 11, and I'm on it, Dean. I know what I'm looking for, and I found it in Drury.
Okay. Is it a homer call? Is it going to be Drury? Be ambitious. Feel free to give a couple. The people like the home run calls. Is Drury one of them? I'm trying to force your hand. Yeah.
Oof. You didn't say this is a whole different topic. Home runs are different than BVP.
Well, no, there's a Venn diagram of like this guy's good tonight and this guy's going to homer. Like usually that's like a.
Do you want a homer or do you want a homer for? You want a homer? You want me to give you a homer?
You're saying that the Drury's going to go 4 for 5 with 5 singles or what?
I mean, Dean, I can't predict a double, a single, or the ball may slip away from an outfield. He may get a triple for all I know. I don't know, okay. Dean. That's all. You only get 4 or 5 at bats. Make contact, number one. Don't strike out, so we have an opportunity to do something. Then after that, make sure that if that contact is hard, that's even better. A chance we get something working. After that, it's all about. You could hit a screeching line drive, and it could be right at the third baseman. You get nothing out of it.
It's almost like clutch isn't real, right?
No, now you're where do you jump from clutch to the conversation we were having?
Because you hit a screeching line drive to the third baseman, and you're out, and people say, "Oh, a bum."
All you're doing is making Tim even more mad with all this crazy conversation right now. It's just nuts.
I just my new goal in life is to somehow give Tim some fun. I don't know how I can do it. Or in some way, if I want to yield, I don't know how do we make his life incrementally more fun? That's all I want to do, despite the fact he doesn't want fun.
I don't want fun. Yeah. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, Dean.
By the way, Jason Hayward, I did pull it up on the fly in the 99th percentile currently in hard hit percentage. Average exit velocity 92.9%. He is smacking the baseball this year. Last year, 87%, 88, 87, 88, 86. Hardest he's ever hit the ball in his career in 2023. There you go. All right. Alex says he's going to help you out. Alex is going to make your life more fun incrementally. So one of these days we'll get Alex on here. We want to get you to smile. We want to get you to have a good time. I know we're going to have some fun with the Crunch Time crew and the crossover. We got Dave Potts, 2-time millionaire winner. He's in the club as well as Head Chopper. We have Grant, I believe it's Grant Neiffer. Grant, question for you. What's up, Grant? Thanks for joining. Thanks for playing the role of Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth. And, of course, we have Carty coming in shortly. He's still getting his hair done, I suppose. Grant, what if you were to summarize the movie Biodome? Remember Biodome? You've seen Biodome. Of course you have. In 3 words or less. How many stars?
Breaking film experience.
In the positive sense, not like it's like the Room, like it's the worst movie of all time. You're saying
Well, that was groundbreaking. Yeah, it was not good. Biodome was great.
In the year 2023, you watch it with like adult eyes. You're saying that Biodome, starring the fourth Baldwin brother, Stephen, I believe, and Pauly Shore, that is a spectacular film.
Yes. I said great, not spectacular.
Well, has there ever been a bad Pauly Shore movie? I don't think that's possible.
There's Son-in-Law. There's Jury Duty.
All I hear is fantastic, fantastic.
There's not a bad one loves Pauly Shore movies.
Derek Carty, welcome to the show. We're going to hit you with something you're definitely not prepared for. What is your favorite? This could be a trick question. What's your favorite Pauly Shore movie?
Biodome? Encino Man?
Oh, I forgot about Encino Man.
Don't forget.
How do you forget about Encino Man? The two other co-stars won Oscars this year.
Well, I mean,
I can't believe none of them won for Encino Man. That should happen a long time ago.
They were robbed. What's going on, Dave? Grant stepping in, playing the role of Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth, at least from a host perspective. Chop, you got anything else with the boys? Tim, anything else with the boys, or shall we yield to crunch time?
I think we're good, Dean. Thank you. Thanks, Chop.
Later.
All righty. Myself, Chopper, Tim, dude, thank you for watching the first portion here of the Grinders Live show. We're going to yield to we have Grant. Grant holding it down, starring the with Derek Carty. He's pretty good, as well as Dave Potts. But Grant and his great movie takes, the Fanduel sponsored Crunch Time. It starts now. Grant, take it away.
Get out of here, Dean. Leave. He left. All right. Well, who's ready to break down some baseball? I've not played any DFS this year. Don't have kids. They ruin your life. Yeah. But yeah, it's been a while since I've been on here. But yeah, Roth isn't here, so let's just.
What a pleasant surprise! I did not expect to see you, and it's always a thrill and an honor.
Well, thank you. I did not expect to be here today either, but
I like that.
Questions need to be answered and asked, and I'm here to ask the questions. But yeah, let's just get right into it. Fun little slate from a DFS perspective, but we got plenty of gambling stuff. Of course, let's get right into it. How do we normally start this? Pitchers? Do we go side by side anymore? I don't even know. I haven't watched it this year.
We'll combine the sites and go position by position. Yes.
All right. Well,
usually Roth will say something like, "Hey, Carty, let's start with a slate overview or your favorite stacks, and then we'll kind of go into pitcher." Like,
oh yeah, what are your favorite stacks, Carty?
So the Brewers are going to be the chalk stack tonight. They're in Coors. They're against Ryan Feltner. That's not going to get past anybody. They're the best, but probably not by as much as the ownership is going to say. So I think the Twins and the Blue Jays are really good. I think the Rockies and the Astros are kind of right there too. There's another probably 8 to 10 teams that you can certainly stack and build plus CV lineups with.
All right. Cheese.
Yeah. It's pretty. It's kind of a wild slate in that it's really easy to build lineups that look fantastic, and like you can build 100 different ways, and every lineup seems like, well, this one can't possibly lose. But just keep in mind that everyone you're playing against also has amazing lineups. So don't get too excited at how good your lineups are just yet. Wait till the end. But yeah, other than the Brewers, I think the Twins will probably be kind of chalky. But other than that, I think it's just all over the place. And who you can play is all over the place.
All right. Well,
so
let's get into who we can play. Starting off with pitchers. Carty, can you lead us off? What we're looking at?
Do it.
So I'm really curious. I feel like this is one where me and Cheese are maybe going to be on opposite sides, because it looks like the chalk tonight is going to be Garrett Cole and maybe to a slightly lesser extent, Zach Gallen. They're kind of like the top two guys on the slate. They're both expensive. They're both in pretty good spots. Cole's against the Guardians, Gallen's against the Rangers. They're both really good pitchers, and I don't have a problem if anyone wants to play them. But we have some really good, super underpriced pitchers on this slate too. And for me, I'm pretty excited about them. And I'm like, the guy that I think is the lock of the slate is Mason Miller, in cash at least. And even in GPPs, if he's going to come in this much lower owned than Cole and Gallen, I load him up there too, honestly, because
I believe the children are our future.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm with you, man. Children are our future.
Okay, I was making sure that was
We are on opposite sides. Mason Miller. Yeah, carry on.
that was good. Yeah, no, Mason Miller is really good. He has like a 6.5 ERA or something right now, which doesn't matter because he's really, really good. He's had a ridiculous strikeout rate, ridiculous walk rate at like every single step in the minors he's been to. And that's been a combined like 6 innings, I think, somewhere around there. But still, he's been really good so far. And he's 5.7K in probably the second best pitcher's park in baseball tonight. The bat already thinks that Mason Miller is the 31st best starting pitcher in baseball. Like, it thinks he's like as good as guys that you know are good. Like, the guys around him, it has Drew Rasmussen, Jeffrey Springs, Max Scherzer, Dylan Cease, Pablo Lopez, Joe Musgrove. Like, those are the names around Mason Miller on the list of the pitchers that the bat thinks are like in like that 25 to 35 range. And that's some good company to be in. And he's way too cheap for how good he is. And I'm really surprised that the ownership projection is not higher than it is. Even on FanDuel, I think you can play him in cash over Cole and Gallen and Urias and Hunter Brown and whoever else people are thinking about playing. Like, he's just way underpriced. He's one of the best pitchers on the slate, and he's so much cheaper than everyone else.
Yeah. I'm trying to convince the place to bet on him.
Yeah. And then on DraftKings, if you want to get real weird with it, I don't have a problem playing the pitcher on the other side of that game. Bryce Miller is a good
Miller
prospect
Lite.
for Seattle. What's up?
Miller Lite? Carry on.
I was going to say Miller time, but
Okay.
yeah, Bryce Miller's a good prospect. He's against Oakland in Oakland. He's 4K on DraftKings, which is silly. 7.6 on FanDuel, which is still a good price for him. So yeah, that's what I like. And I think I'd throw Michael Wacha into the mix in tournaments, maybe John Gray, but that's kind of it. In DK Cash, if you just want to play Mason Miller and one of Cole or Gallen, that's fine. If you want to play both Millers, that's fine too. But that's pitching for me.
All right. Jeez, you got any differences?
So we don't really disagree other than I don't think Garrett Cole is chalky at all. And I think Mason Miller will be way higher owned than what we're showing.
You think so?
I think Gallen Miller is the chalk. And really both Millers. And the reason Mason Miller is not super popular is because of Bryce Miller. And some people are going to play both. But I think they're kind of eating each other's ownership.
Right.
But I don't think Cole's going to get that much on DK, where he's 1,500 more than Gallen and Hunter Brown. I think most lineups are going to be one of Gallen and Miller. Gallen and Brown with one of the Millers. And that's mostly what I'm doing. I'm going to throw a little Joe Ryan in just to be different with an upside guy. But like the highest, like the potential highest scoring lineup is going to be 2 Millers and all of the, Tellez, Adames, Trout, Alvarez. Like, you can just go crazy town. That's a place you can go.
Yeah.
I really have nothing to add. The obvious aces, and I'm on the Gallen side ahead of Cole for the ace, but
When you consider
play
price,
them
I
both.
am too. Yeah.
And like I say, I'm throwing Hunter Brown and Joe Ryan in a lot of lineups. Like, I like Hunter Brown on FanDuel, where the other 3 guys are like Cole and Gallen are super expensive. You can do a lot of things with Hunter Brown that you can't do with those 2. And again, I think Mason Miller is probably more like 15 to 20% owned, but still not like mega chalky on FanDuel.
All right. Let's move on to hitting. Cheese, you want to start us off with catcher?
You know that I do. It's kind of the same group as always. You've got the brothers Contreras. with the William version being the chalk in cores. And like in Miller lineups, you're going to run into a lot of these expensive guys like Contreras, like Will Smith. I don't think the Dodgers in general are popular at all, but I do like Will Smith. I like Adley Rutschman as a spend up. And then if you need a cheap guy, it looks like the bat would say Keibert Ruiz. I would agree with that, like under 3K. He's kind of the guy. You can go all the way down to like Connor Wong if you really need to. But if you're playing at least one cheap pitcher, go with like a Contreras brother or Smith or Rutschman. I also really like the Royals guys in tournaments.
All right, Carty.
Yeah, catcher's not difficult. What she said. The Contrerases are the top. William in cores is the best. If you're spending down, you play Keibert, and you got a bunch of high-end guys that are great one-offs. You have the other Contreras, you have Smith, you have Rutschman. I don't think you have to overthink catcher too much tonight.
Yeah. All right. Start us off with, and someone's chat is asking for a home run call. Zunino is the call at 7-1. Go ahead and start us off first base.
Rowdy Tellez is in cores, and he's the top guy on the slate above your Goldschmidts and your Vlads and your Freemans and everybody else tonight. And he's pretty much cheaper than all of them. And so in cash, you're just playing Rowdy Tellez because the Brewers are clearly the best team. And, you know, he's 3.8 on Fanduel. He's 4.8 on DraftKings. You don't have to overthink it. Justin Turner is kind of if you need to go down and save money, I think Justin Turner and Christian Walker are the guys that I like quite a bit in tournaments. Turner's hitting second. He's against Kikuchi. It's a great park. Christian Walker's just always too cheap for who he is and what kind of power he has. Over on FanDuel, Turner's 2.7, so he's the guy you spend down to also, and he qualifies at third also. So we'll talk about him at third, but that's kind of first base. And then you can play guys in your stacks. You know, I mentioned I really like a Toronto stack. So like play Vlad. Baltimore stacks are good. Play Mountcastle. You know, that's the thing.
Yep. Cheese.
That is, in fact, the thing. He is not wrong. The top names are obvious. Obviously, Tellez. I think Goldschmidt is far and away my favorite kind of expensive pivot. Justin Turner. I like Vinny P as another cheap guy. Let's not goof around at first base. We have better things to goof around at.
All right. Well, goof around at second base.
Yes. Speaking of better things to goof around at, second base. FanDuel second base is a little stronger because they got McMahon and Mookie Betts at second base. Polanco's probably the chalk, but I think you can pivot to any of those guys. Betts, McMahon. Arizona's kind of interesting on FanDuel where they're cheap-ish. Like Marte and Rojas on DK are kind of silly. I guess fine if you're doing a stack, but it's pretty weird. But like Marte at 3K on FanDuel is fine. I like Kiki Hernandez as a cheaper-ish guy. Louis Garcia, more on DraftKings as something other than Bryce Terang, basically, if you're going cheap. But like on DK, it's pretty much Polanco or you're just throwing darts at a wall. So I think this is kind of if you can fit some random cheap guy in a stack, this is the position I would do it.
All right. Carty.
I agree on DraftKings. I think Terang is kind of the easy cash play if you're not going up to Polanco. Like she said, much easier to get up to Polanco on FanDuel, and I think that's what you should do over there. Otherwise, Bryce Terang, Louis Garcia, they're your cheap guys. Tommy Edman's interesting. Like I think St. Louis stacks are firmly in play tonight, so certainly Tommy Edman leading off in those. But otherwise, you know, that's kind of it. I like McMahon a good bit on FanDuel where he qualifies. I think Gleyber Torres is probably the guy tonight that is really good and gets overlooked and is too low
Hey,
owned.
pause.
So
Pause there, Carty. I forgot to ask you this picture. What compare what the bat thinks about BB versus the Millers, just in general and tonight. because Tanner Beebe is also a very good young prospect.
Yep.
And I think
So-
he might be playable on DK on another night.
I think so too. So the bat doesn't dislike Beebe. It has him as the 72nd best pitcher in baseball, right between Logan Gilbert and Alex Wood. So like certainly a guy that's pretty good. But he's not Mason Miller. It likes Bryce Miller quite a bit less than it likes Beebe overall, though. But Bryce Miller's matchup is so much better tonight, and he's quite a bit cheaper. So if you're talking about guys to play, I prefer playing Bryce Miller. I don't love picking on Beebe, but second base is always kind of like a crappy position. And Gleyber Torres is one of the only second basemen these days that like
Is a
isn't pretty
non-jabroni.
bad at hitting baseballs. Yeah. So you can definitely play him, especially because against a prospect like Beebe, people aren't really going to be looking at him.
All right. Did you have anything more on second base, Carty?
That's all I got.
All right, then start us off with third.
So Ryan McMahon is your top guy. More affordable on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings, but I don't think you have to play him on either site. On FanDuel, I'm fine just going down to the sub 3K range because we have Alex Bregman at 2.9K against Anthony Disclafani, and the roof is open in Houston tonight. And so I think Bregman at that price is pretty silly. You also have Justin Turner, though, at 2.7K, who we mentioned before. He's got the platoon advantage against Kikuchi. He's at home in Fenway. It's an elite hitters park. So really, you can just save money here, and you're fine to do that. In tournaments, Jose Ramirez is against Garrett Cole, and I don't think people are going to play him. But on FanDuel, 3.7 is really not a crazy price. DraftKings at 5.6, maybe a little bit harder to get to, but with like all the cheap pitching and the cheap, Brewer stuff, like there's ways to get up to that kind of salary level. And you're going to get some leverage off of Cole, and you're going to get very low ownership for basically the best third baseman in baseball. So I like him a lot in tournaments. Over on DraftKings in cash, though, I think you're probably playing either Bregman or you're playing Brian Anderson in Coors. He's 4-1, and that's third base.
All right, Cheese.
Yeah, the FanDuel pricing here is so low. McMahon, Bregman, Turner, Manny Machado, all just kind of sitting around 3K. It makes for a lot of 2 third baseman lineups. And it makes like Jose Ramirez and Matt Chapman sort of completely forgotten. And even Devers against Kikuchi. Like it just leaves you with superstar hitters that no one's playing. And like people are going to be playing Brian Anderson ahead of Jose Ramirez. Like matchup is matchup, but Jose Ramirez is better than Brian Anderson. So I like just being different at third where you can. If you can spend up to be different, great. I think you're allowed to punt it on DK just because there's like Edwin Rios hitting 6. There's like these weird guys kind of all over the slate that like one of these random dudes is going to hit a couple home runs and be optimal at 2,200. But with so many good third basemen, it's tough not to just get one of them.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to shortstop. Are you just locking in Adames?
Depends what you mean by locking in. I'm not, because I'm doing enough lineups that there's other ways to go. On FanDuel, you can make a case for 2 shortstops instead of 2 third basemen because you do have. You can play Tatis short or outfield, but then you got Carlos Correa's 3K, Trey Turner's 3K, Bobby Witt's 31. It's another just great position right around 3K. I love all those guys. Whereas on DraftKings, where you don't have Tatis at short, and these other guys are all really expensive. Like other than Correa at 47, like the top half dozen guys are all between 5,000 and 6,000. With Adames taking almost all the ownership. So I like getting to Bichette or Witt. But it's kind of silly too. Like it's just one of those, yeah, Adames is the best play, and you can afford him. So I'd rather try to save money, but I don't like the super cheap stuff. So we're talking more like Kiki Hernandez or Edmund, who at around 4K, at that point I'd rather just go up to Correa and or higher. So spend at shortstop. There's your takeaway.
All right, Carty.
Yeah, Adames is the top guy where Tatis is not eligible. And I think on DraftKings, you do just spend at shortstop and you get up to him. On FanDuel, though, where he's a little bit more expensive than Witt and Turner and Correa, I think you can play any of them. You can certainly do 2 shortstop lineups. Turner is the one in particular that I think is interesting because he's facing, of the 3 of them, the guy who's actually like a really good pitcher in Julio Urias. But he will have the platoon advantage. He is getting a park upgrade, which I don't think people realize. And Urias is not very easy, but it's a really good stolen base matchup. So there's a lot of ways that Turner can get you points. I think he'll be fairly low owned. Adames is going to be the chalk for good reason, but that's what I would do to be different. If you do need to save money on DraftKings, you have a few guys that I think are semi-viable. Like Zach Neto is hitting leadoff for the Angels tonight. He's got the platoon against Steven Matz. He's 2.7K. I prefer spending up, but I'm not going to tell you you're wrong to go down to a guy like that because, there is other stuff that you might want to spend on.
All right. Well, let's move on to outfield. You spend it up for outfield, Carty?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to spend up a little bit. So I think the top tier at outfield is basically Yordan Alvarez, Byron Buxton, Fernando Tatis, and then below that, just a little below them, is, a handful of other guys. But Alvarez is the guy I think is the best. I like the most. He's against Anthony DeSclafani, who's not good. He's got the platoon advantage. The roof is open in Houston. He's semi-expensive on both sites, especially compared to Buxton. So I think you're definitely going to have Buxton, but I think you can probably have one of Alvarez and Tatis with him. I probably prefer getting to Alvarez over Tatis, but Tatis is good. He's against Ashcraft. Ashcraft isn't anything special. Buxton, though, is facing Kopech. He's in an elite park for home runs. Kopech gives up fly balls and home runs. Buxton is the cheapest kind of this tier of guys. So I like Buxton the most. On DraftKings, where Alvarez and Tatis are like the same price, I prefer Alvarez. On FanDuel, Tatis is a good amount cheaper than Alvarez, so I probably prefer Tatis. And then you kind of have the tier below them where you have like Kyle Tucker, who's in basically the same spot as Alvarez, but he's just not as good. You have Christian Yelich leading off in Coors. You have Mike Trout with the platoon advantage against Mats. I think he'll probably, of this like group of top 6 or 7 or however many, he'll be the one that goes the most overlooked, I think. And I like him quite a bit in tournaments. On DraftKings, he's the most expensive of the group, so I think that will really keep his ownership low. Dalton Varsho, I like Jay's stacks a lot. I like Varsho in the stacks. I like Varsho as a one-off. I mentioned liking twin stacks a lot. So in addition to Buxton, I also really like Max Kepler. Obviously, we're going to have some cheap guys in Coors to think about. Tyrone Taylor's off the IL now. He's 2.3 on DraftKings, and so he's going to be a really good play. He's 2.5 on FanDuel. He's certainly in play there as well. And yeah, that's kind of the main stuff I like at outfield.
All right, Cheese.
So the expensive names don't require much analysis. Like, they're awesome. And if you can fit 3 expensive outfielders, like, great, play Alvarez, Trout, and Tatis, or whoever. I think on FanDuel, again, kind of like at third and short, the 3K range is pretty fantastic. I know Carty mentioned Varsho and Kepler. You've got Ian Happ, Winker, George Springer. They're all just sitting right around 3K, which makes it pretty goofy to go too much lower than that. I mean, maybe in a stack you would, but I don't think you dumpster dive below. I think Kepler at 27, even in tournaments outside of full stacks, I wouldn't be messing around with anything lower than that. DK, if you're not going double Millers, you might need one cheap outfielder where you've got the Brewers guys, but some of the Twins are like almost cheap, like Larnach and Kepler are cheap-ish. Dylan Carlson's hitting 5th. He's 2,900. I like cheap Royals like Olivares, 2,900. So most of my lineups have one of these outfielders down near 3K or below, with 2 expensive ones, just because there aren't even that many names at all in the 4K range. And Bellinger's one that I like in that range. But I just want as much of those top like 5 or 6 guys as I can get, which requires going cheap.
All right. Favorite stack before we get to the questions?
So I'm going to say completely because of salary, not because I think they're the best team. The team that I have the most of is the Kansas City Royals. Not because I think they are likely to be the best team, but because I can fit them anywhere and everywhere with whatever else I want.
All right, Carty.
The bad thing's the Royals are poopy, so I don't like the Royals.
Poopy? Is poopy good or bad?
That's bad.
I'm unfamiliar
I
with this as an adjective. Okay.
I have a 3-week-old. It's and she didn't poop for a few days. It's a good thing.
So Brewers are chalk. After that, I don't think you're going to see anything that's like super popular. So I'm not going to get too cute. I like Twins. I like Blue Jays. I like Astros. I like Rockies. If you need some cheap stuff, I think the Nationals offer some interesting cheap stuff to make stuff work. Yeah.
They're poopy, Derek.
They most certainly
But I
are,
like them
but
too.
so is Hayden Wesneski.
Yeah. It's the same thing as KC. Like you can load them up and then play Trout, Alvarez, Adames. It's not unlikable to have a lineup with those guys.
I'm getting reamed in chat for being so amped up right now.
You are on fire. Yes.
I've not slept in normal in 3 weeks. So, all right. Well, we'll get into questions here. Are both you guys doing cash or does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
All right. Let's get right into it. FanDuel Cash, Carty. Prioritize Teletubby or Adames?
I assume that's Rowdy Tellez.
Yeah.
I think you're probably prioritizing Tellez, but they're both good plays.
All right. Cheese. 3 for Garcia for FanDuel Cash. Garcia, Varsho, Winker, or Polanco, O'Neill, and Taylor?
3 from Neiffer. The first one, Garcia, Varsho, Winker.
All right, Carty, DKGPP, Well or Waka?
Waka.
All right, Cheese, I know you liked the Royals. Are they okay for small field GPPs?
I mean, it's probably unnecessary for small field, but I do like them. Yeah.
All right, Carty, FanDuel single entry. Would you pay up for a high-end pitcher over 10K or go cheaper with the plays below 8K? Any suggestions on either range?
Read me the question one more time.
FanDuel single entry. Would you go with the pitchers over 10K or pay down below 8K?
Honestly, you can build good lineups either way, but personally, I think Mason Miller, I think Michael Wacha, I think Bryce Miller, they're all going to be, even John Gray, I think they're all going to come in a lot lower owned than they probably should. So I'm fine building lineups with any of them, with Mason Miller being my favorite.
All right. Cheese, Yell Contreras, FanDuel Cash.
That's interesting. Honestly, I would play Contreras.
All right. Carty, FanDuel Cash. Rank them: Witt, Winker, or Springer?
They're all different positions, but I think it would be Witt, Springer, or Winker.
All right. In a 5-man Toronto stack, B. Miller and Springer or M. Miller Witt? DK.
B. Miller, Springer.
All right. DKGPP. Velasquez/Anderson or Melendez/Miranda with a Twins and Witt stack.
I would do Melendez and Miranda. Finish up your stacks.
All right. Another one for you, Carty. On FanDuel, do you like Orioles as a stack for single entry?
I do. Yeah, they're certainly one of the better stacks tonight outside of course.
All right. FanDuel cash cheese, Varsho or Gritchick?
Varsho.
All right. We rolling with Bichette again.
I mean, you can always play him. He's like 4th or 5th on the list of great shortstops. But by all means, all 5 of them are great.
Tatis as shortstop for GPPs and FanDuel. Any interest in Mateo? Carty?
Not as a one-off necessarily, but in your stacks, sure.
All right. Cheese, FanDuel second base, 3,300. You going McMahon, Drury, or Polanco?
If it's cash, I would go Polanco. In a tournament, if the rest of your lineup's even a little bit chalky, I like Drury.
All right. Carty, rank Cruz, Abreu, and France.
Cruz, Abreu, and France. That's just no context at all. Just rank them.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think we mentioned any of those guys at all tonight. So you're certainly not playing any of them in cash. What Cruz is on this slate?
Nelson Cruz is in the lineup tonight.
Oh, is he? Okay. And what Abreu are we talking? Oh, Jose Abreu. I guess who's the third guy?
France.
It's probably Abreu, Cruz, France.
I just as we were asking that question, I looked at the San Diego lineup that came out, and so Bogarts is out. So both Cruz and Carpenter are in there, which makes the stack a little more affordable. And I think
really annoying.
We haven't really mentioned like the two teams that no one's going to play because they're facing kind of okay pitchers and are super late and expensive are the Padres and the Dodgers. If you're a multi-entry person, you should always play the Padres and the Dodgers. So there you go. Yeah. Now you know.
All right, and you guys both kind of talk about this.
Do you have any Ashcraft unders tonight, Grant? Because I'm a little tilted by this lineup.
I don't.
Yeah.
It's better or worse. I kind of stayed away from him. I haven't looked at the lineup yet. You guys both talked a little bit about this, but someone asking Mason Miller and Bibby and Unleash the Hounds. I'm assuming that means bats on DK single entry. I think you both kind of said you'd rather go Miller, but Bibby is still a viable option. I have his over on strikeouts. It was sitting very low.
In general, it's totally viable to go with two cheap pitchers tonight. I mean, Miller is more chalky and cheaper. I do have a couple BBs thrown in there just because I think he's good and different. But if you're going to do that, just for the sake of getting all the bats, just double up the Millers.
All right.
I think we can
Carty,
throw Watt into that mix too.
Thoughts on Cubs on FanDuel for GPPs, I'm assuming.
I don't have much interest in Cubs tonight.
All right. Cheese, 2v2, FanDuel cash, Tatis and Bregman, or Yelich and Winker?
I would Tatis and Bregman.
All right. Carty, best stack to win a DK GPP. Love the Red Sox.
Yeah, Red Sox are certainly fine tonight. They're totally viable. I'll pick the Twins, but there's a good 10 or 12 teams that easily have a shot to take it down tonight.
All right. Cheese, last man in, Winker or Witt? FanDuel Cash.
Wit.
All right, Carty, DK single entry. Pick one: Arenado, Bregman, or McMahon.
I mean, McMahon projects the best of them, so I think you probably go McMahon. And Bregman's so cheap that like he'll pick up some ownership, and Arenado's terrible, so you're not going to play him.
All right, Cheese, Juan
Come
Soto.
on. I'm trying to get a rise out of Cheese here. Nothing at all.
I'm echoing Grant's excitement level. For the
I just want a nap. Cheese, Juan Soto, a lock on FanDuel? Question mark.
No. You're welcome to play him, but no.
Yeah. Carty, Urias for FanDuel Cash viable?
No, not for cash, but certainly for GPPs.
Yeah. Comment in chat.
If you're going to play Urias, like if you're not going to play Cole or Gallon, just play Mason Miller.
All right. Comment in chat that Cheese doesn't rattle. Unless it's a good, cheese curd, good squeaky cheese curd. That'll rattle around in the box there.
Well, that's a weird noise, isn't it?
The squeaky cheese curds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that gets talked about enough. What's up with that noise?
I don't understand it, and I don't know how I feel about it, but I love cheese curds. One of my go-tos is deep fried cheese curds. It's just a better version of the mozzarella stick, pure and simple. Like they are so good. And underrated cheese curd is A&W. It's great cheese curds.
See, this is now you are joining the great analysis on the show. Like I don't think most people, myself included, would know that.
I don't think I've ever had a deep fried cheese curd, but that sounds delicious.
Oh gosh, they're incredible. Come on out to Colorado Springs. There's a brewery near me that has them, and they coat it in orange chicken sauce. And gosh,
that sounds amazing.
Yeah,
I want that.
So good. All right, Carty, DKGPP, Min Milwaukee double stack. Which Taylor, Michael or Tyrone?
Tyrone.
Cheese, QQ. How are Cruz, Carpenter, and Cronenworth all playing first base tonight for San Diego? I believe the answer is they aren't all playing first base.
They just don't want those balls getting too far past. So they'll put one kind of right on either side of the bag and one behind them, and then they'll be safe. I
saw a tweet from Ken Rosenthal that said they're going to pull like a Little Rascals thing where one's going to be on the other one's shoulders and then the other one's on the other one's shoulders and they're going to wear a trench coat. I think that's the first base plan tonight.
Super tall first baseman. That's intimidating.
Exactly.
When you get over there,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I'd like to see that with Judge and Jose Altuve. That would be a fun one to watch. Cheese, are the Angels going overlooked as a stack, or are they better off as one-offs?
Both. They are going overlooked as a stack, and I do like them as a stack, but they're better as one-offs. So,
by the way,
all of the above.
Trout was plus 460 on Barstool today to hit a home run. How silly is that?
I don't know. You tell me. How silly is it?
Very, very silly. I wish they would let me get more than $30 down. Question for Carty: What exposure to these shortstops? Pick one for cash and one for tournaments. Adames and Turner.
Adames for cash, Turner for tournaments. I like quite a bit. And you're right, Grant. I was just looking at the bats projections. Plus 460 for Trout tonight is very good.
Yeah. DKGPP, Justin Turner or Joey Gallo with a Red Sox main stack and Twins secondary. I can't remember who we were on.
I think you want Turner in a Red Sox stack.
Well, I think they're doing a double stack.
Well, that's still same difference. I think you want Justin Turner. You don't really want the Red Sox without Justin Turner. You can play the Twins without Gallo.
All right. Carty, Melendez or Olivares, FanDuel single entry one-off.
It looks like he's asking Cheese specifically, and I don't feel like answering that question.
I just
that's a
saw
good
that.
point.
Because Carty thinks they're both poopy.
Well, everything's coming up for Cheese right now.
Yeah, Melendez, but I like them both.
All right, Cheese, lots for you. On FanDuel, would you advise against Mason Miller in cash to release all the hounds?
It's not so much that I advise against it. Like, I think he's fine. There's so many super great bats right around 3K that I don't think you have to play any of the 4K bats in cash. So personally, I would spend up in cash and just play the 3K bats. But I don't think Mason Miller is wrong.
All right, Carty, Machado and Winker or Tatis and Rios?
That's tough because Rios is not good. I'd probably go the one without Rios.
I'm lock buttoning Rios and now because Carty's just so full of it. How's that? Does that sound like real anger?
It did, but now here's the thing. Because you got more upset about Edwin Rios than you did about Nolan Arenado, which tells me that you are now a believer that Nolan Arenado is trash.
Something like that, yes. As always, I hate guys who hit 30 homers with 100 RBIs. They're all trash.
Well, I've been told that RBIs aren't important.
Correct. So. You do not get DFS points for home runs or RBIs anymore. Only small sample.
DFS is a whole another thing, but it's not indicative to how good a player is, as Carty would say.
Right, but we are actually playing
DFS. Correct.
We are in fact playing DFS where the home runs and the RBIs do count. I have double checked on all the sites; they all count them.
Do they count when he's hit them in previous days, or only when he hits them today and in the future?
It counts whatever day you're playing.
Cool. So then you don't want him because we'd be playing today or in the future.
I am playing today and in the future. Yes.
Cheese, are you on any Baltimore, and would you full man stack it?
I like Rutschman Mountcastle a pretty good bit. I think I have like 2 stacks. If I was doing 20 lineups, I would not get to a full Baltimore stack. But yeah, they're in play.
Yeah. Someone asking if Betts is going yard again tonight. I didn't bet him.
Then no. But yes, I like Betts a lot.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah.
Matt Strom's been freaking awesome, and he's striking out everybody. But if it's not a strikeout, like Betts matches up really well. That's the one thing he doesn't do is strike out, and he's giving up power, and he's only going to throw 5 innings anyway. So sneaky Dodgers, sneaky Mookie Boots.
Do you guys know if the roof is open in Houston?
It is.
All right. I think Kirkwood was asking that. I just forget his name is Chris. I always forget his last name is Chris. I just call him Kirk. I don't know if we have any more questions. How often do you guys just forget people's names and only remember their screen names in real life? I forgot your name was Dave Potts until I just looked down again.
Yeah, sometimes I forget as well.
Yeah, happens to me all the time. Yeah, I don't know if we have any more questions. Man.
When
Carty,
I think
what
about
state are you
Grant,
in?
I forget his name is Grant. I always just think his name is Turd.
Yep. Well, legally, I'm trying to get it changed. Tried to get my daughter's name to be Turdette Ferguson, but wife gave that the axe real quick.
That's weird. I wonder why.
I don't know. It's such a beautiful name. And right now it's pretty apt considering how many diapers she has.
To answer Kirkwood's question about the Houston roof, it's not like it's 90 degrees there, but it's close to 80. It has the lowest air density, so it's the best hitting weather of the night, and it's 8-mile-an-hour winds out to left field, so it's good weather. It's the best weather of the night for hitting.
Okay. DKGP.
Carty in hot with the air density. Yes.
Geez, DKGBP, do you favor players in a stack or your favorite one-offs on the slate when making lineups?
It depends on the slate. And that's something I'll usually try to talk about in the musings. Like, am I building from a stack or am I building from the one-offs? Today I was building from the one-offs. Like I want to get a few of these big bats, and then I'll fill in. If I need some garbage cheap guys, I'm going to play garbage cheap guys in a stack. So depends on the day, but today I prefer building around the one-offs.
All right, best cheap play at third base, Cheese, DKGPP, one-off.
Rios. Really, if you need something super duper cheap, I actually am playing him. But ideally, you can get a little higher than that. Jace Peterson is equally viable. But like, if you can get up to Jose Miranda, I think he counts as cheap at 3,300, and that would be officially my favorite.
Yep. Someone asking, do we need Tellus today? I'm assuming you guys both answered you don't need him, but he's great out as one of the best plays on the slate.
In cash, you do. In GPP, you never need a hitter.
Yeah, that's fair. I forgot people still play. I miss the days when I used to play MLB cash games for optimizers were a thing. Really, those were the days. Kirkwood wants to know: are LeBron James or Jason Hayward taking steroids? I assume everyone in professional sports is. Just some people are better at it.
Definitely
not. I don't know the answer to that question.
I also clearly do not know.
No,
I will let you know if I hear anything.
You didn't break into his house and look through his medicine cabinet?
Not yet.
All right, something
perhaps
on your to-do
this
list. Yeah. Cheese, do you like Witt, who's swinging a hot bat as a leverage play off of Damas?
I certainly do. Yeah.
All right, Carty, Verdugo or Yoshi, DKGPP?
I mean, it's outfielders on the same team. They're both good. Flip a coin. I'd probably take Verdugo.
Carty, let me ask you this. Are we at the point, like Yoshi only has like 91 plate appearances or 100 plate appearances. Can we call him the ground ball hitter yet? Like it scares me that he has a 59% ground ball rate. How much do you need to say he's a ground ball hitter? Are we there yet?
We're probably getting pretty close because ground ball rate does stabilize fairly quickly, and we kind of would have expected him to be that a little bit to begin with. I think
the profile is just bugging me.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious what the bat has him at, but I would think it's definitely projecting him. On that side.
Every day, I just want to like him so much because he doesn't strike out and he's sitting in the middle of the Red Sox lineup. And I look at that and I'm like, I think he's just hitting the ball real soft in the ground just every time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Except for those 4 homers, those were not ground balls.
I mean, it happened with Yelich was a massive ground ball guy right before he
hit the ball hard. Yoshi's not hitting the ball hard and he's hitting the ground balls. It's not a great combo.
Doesn't he have what's his hard hit rate? I thought it was no, never mind.
Well, I'm looking at the Fangraphs number. I'll look at the Savant number.
That's 28%.
That's terrible for a ground ball hitter.
It's not good at all. I don't think we have any more questions. And I think it's pretty much lock time. There was a season-long question, Carty. What season-long breakouts does Blatt believe in for deep leagues, like 15 teams roto? Outman, Josh Lowe, Jared Duran types, for example.
I mean, projections are rarely going to believe in a breakout after a month because we're still dealing with very small sample sizes. Like you can take shots on these guys and hope that they're real, but actually trusting that they're real and that's the most likely outcome for any of them is unlikely. The only breakouts that the bat buys are ones that it thought were very likely to happen in the first place, like Yandy Diaz. Like the bat thought Yandy Diaz was great and he's breaking out and he's raised his launch angle and like all that stuff. And so the bat's like, yeah, I expected him to do that in the first place. So that's the kind of guy that it's more likely to believe in.
Yeah. Someone in chat said steroids allow a person to work out more often. Minus the workouts, I don't think they help in any way.
That's why I don't take steroids because I do not want to work out anymore.
Yeah, well, that is also categorically false. It can help with it helps with protein synthesis, so it actually helps a lot with injuries. Although it can increase injuries just by increasing muscle mass, while tendons haven't fully adjusted to that. But yeah, steroids do a lot more than just your ability to work out more. And it also helps build muscles after working out significant more. So yeah, I think that's it.
Right, dropping some knowledge.
I read Jose Canseco's books, fun fact, and I'm married to a PT. So yeah. Well, we'll end on that unless you guys got anything.
No, I think that's about it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Unless we want to talk more steroids and air density, I think I'm going to have some ice cream.
what changes the air density besides elevation, heat, humidity?
It's temperature, humidity, sea level pressure, and then elevation.
Sea
if you
level
wanna call it.
pressure. Man,
Yeah.
I don't know what that means now.
He could have said elevation, but that sounds smarter.
Is there a difference between sea level pressure and elevation, or is it just the exact same at any amount you go up?
No, they're completely independent of each other. And when I talk about air density, I'm holding elevation neutral because Coors is always going to have that. And like that's part of a park factor basically because it doesn't change, but the other three change on a daily basis. So when I talk about air density, I talk about altitude neutral air density. But I don't say altitude neutral air density because everyone's going to be like, wow, look at Carty trying to show off, talking about altitude neutral air density. It's bad enough that I just say air density.
All right.
You sound like a very good meteorologist.
Yeah. Watch out, Kevin Roth. All right, well, guys, it's been fun. I have to go change a diaper, most likely. We're out of here.
Good luck.
Bye, kids.